Jai Shri Giriraj Govardhan Ju Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhamsa Hari Prajakacharya Stata Sita Shri Shriman Srila Bhakti Sundar Govindadev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhamsa Hari Prajakacharya Astata Sita Shri Shriman Srila Bhakti Rakak Shri Dardev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai. Jai Shrimati Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Welcome to Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Mission morning class. Jai.
It's so easy now for you.
Yeah. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jata Parakamalam Shri Gurung Vaishnavam Scha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatam Vitangstam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vidangscha. Excuse me. Excuse me. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Minitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Nama Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svaparantikam. Oh my gosh. Jai. So continuing to read Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Can you hear in there, Didi? I have to learn how to set up the microphones. Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda Jai Dvaita Chandra Jai Gaur Bhaktivinoda Jai Dvaita Chandra Jai Gaur Bhaktivinoda Jai Shri Krishna Das Kaviraj Ki Jai Shri Om Vishnupad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. So we're reading from the 16th chapter of the Adi Lila text number 44. Haribol. So now we remember that the Digvijay Pandit, Keshava Kashmiri, has composed and recited 100 verses on the praising Mother Ganga. And Mahaprabhu is now analyzing one of the verses. Prabhu kahe deveravari tumi kavivar, aiche deveravari ke ho jai shrutidar. Oh, then the Lord said, just as Mother Saraswati has given you the benediction that you are such a great scholar, so in the same way, I have some benediction that I am a shrutidar. What I hear, I don't forget. And then, satisfied by the statement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Brahman Keshava Kashmiri explained the quoted verse, the verse that Mahaprabhu quoted. Then the Lord said, now kindly explain the special qualities and faults in the verse. So he's telling Keshava Kashmiri to talk about not only the good qualities, but also the faults in the verse that he... I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't actually know exactly how to set that up. We're missing Hari. All right. Not only did Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu pick out this one among the 100 verses and remember it, although the Brahmin had recited them like the blowing wind, but he also, you know what you can do? You can just get your phone out and listen online. Okay. That's what Haridev did the other day.
Okay.
But he also analyzed its qualities and faults. Not only did he hear the verse, but he immediately made a critical study of it. Viprakahe shloke nahi doshara abasa. Upama lankara guna kichu anuprasa. The Brahmin replied, there's not a tinge of fault in that verse. Rather, it has the good qualities of similes and alliteration. In the last line of the verse quoted by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the letter Bha is repeated many times, as in the words Bhavani, Bhartur, Vibhavati, and Adbhuta. Such repetition is called anuprasa, or alliteration. The words Lakshmir and Eva, and Vishnu's Charana Kamalotpati are instances of Upama Alankar, for they exhibit metaphorical beauty. The Ganges is water, and Lakshmi is the goddess of fortune. Since water and a person are not actually similar, the comparison is metaphorical. It's not a simile. Prabhu kahena kahi jadi na karaharosha, kahatomara e shloke kiba ache dosha. The Lord said, my dear sir, I may say something if you will not become angry. Can you explain the faults in this verse? Pratibhara kavya tomara devata shantoshe, balamate vacharile jani guna doshe. There's no doubt that your poetry is full of ingenuity, and certainly it has satisfied the Supreme Lord. Yet, if we scrutinizingly consider it, we can find both good qualities and faults. Tate bala kari shloka karahavichar, kavi kahe je kahile sei vedashar. The Lord concluded, now therefore let us carefully scrutinize this verse. The poet replied, yes, the verse you have recited is perfectly correct. He's not admitting that there could possibly be anything wrong with it. Vyakaraniya tuminahe pada alankar, tumiki janibe kavitverashar. You are an ordinary student of grammar. What do you know about literary embellishments? You cannot review this poetry because you do not know anything about it. It's just canceled. You can't say anything. You're only this. So Keshava Kashmiri first wanted to bluff Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by saying that since he was not an advanced student in literary style, he could not review a verse full of metaphors and literary ornaments. This argument has some basis in fact. Unless one is a medical man, he cannot criticize a medical man. And unless he's a lawyer, he cannot criticize a lawyer. Therefore, Keshava Kashmiri first deprecated the Lord's position because Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was, to the champion, a student of grammar. How could he dare criticize a great poet like him? Lord Chaitanya therefore criticized the poet in a different way. He said that although he was certainly not advanced in literary career, he had heard from others how to criticize such poetry, such as a Shrutidar possessing a complete memory. He could understand the process for such a review. He's saying, although I don't have the experience, I've heard about the process, and as a Shrutidar, I've not forgotten what I heard about that, so therefore I can approach this using that process that I've memorized. Prabhu kahena ataev puchiye tomar, vichariya guna dosha bajaha amare. Tomare and amare. Taking a humble position, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, because I am not on your level, I have asked you to teach me by explaining the faults and good qualities in your poetry. Nahi padi alankara kariyachi shravan, tate shloke deki bahudo shagun. Certainly I have not studied the art of literary embellishments, but I have heard about it from higher circles, and thus I can review this verse and find in it many faults and many good qualities. The statement Kardiyachi Shravan, I have heard it, is very important in the sense that hearing is more important than directly studying or perceiving. So hearing from the superior persons, not that one will study on his own, but hearing from someone who has a superior position is always more advantageous than studying on one's own. If one is expert in hearing and hears from the right source, his knowledge is immediately perfect. This process is called Shrotapanta, or the acquisition of knowledge by hearing from authorities. All Vedic knowledge is based on the principle that one must approach a bona fide spiritual master and hear from him the authoritative statements of the Vedas. It is not necessary for one to be highly polished literary man to receive knowledge. To receive perfect knowledge from a perfect person, one must simply be expert in learning and hearing. This is called the descending process of deductive knowledge, or avaroha panta. Kavi kahe kahadeki kon gunadosh, Prabhu kahena kahishuna nakari harosh. The poet said, all right, let me see what good qualities and faults you have found. The Lord replied, let me speak and please hear me without becoming angry. Pancha dosha shloke pancha alankar, krameyami kahishuna karaha vichar. My dear sir, in this verse there are 5 faults and 5 literary ornaments. I shall state them one after another. Kindly hear me and then give your judgment. We will discuss that. In the verse beginning with Mahatvam Gangaya, there are 5 literary ornaments and 5 examples of faulty composition. There are 2 examples of the fault called Avimrishta and Videyangsa, and 1 example each of the faults, Viruddhamati, Punar Ukti, and Bhagnakram. This is the purport, by the way, but the Lord will explain these things as well. But Srila Prabhupada is giving the readers an introduction to what Mahaprabhu is going to say. Vimshrita means clean, and Videyangsha means predicate. It is a general rule of composition to establish the subject first and then to give its predicate. For example, according to Sanskrit grammar, if one says, this man is learned, his composition is in order. But if he says, learned is this man, the composition is not in order. Such a flaw is called avimrishta videyangsha dosh, or the fault of unclean composition. And I'm forgetting now the English word for that in grammar. There's an English word that is also describes this. Putting the predicate, or the second part of the sentence, first. The subject matter is to be known of the verse, the subject matter to be known of the verse is the glorification of the Ganges, and therefore the word idam, this, or what is already known, should have been placed before instead of after the glorification. So the subject matter already known should be placed before the unknown so that its meaning will not be misconstrued. This is something that is largely going away, and at least in the English language, and maybe languages all over the world, is proper construction of sentences. And because then, so it's very, very easy to misunderstand anyone, and it's very easy to present things in a way that will cause others to misunderstand. So it's nice to be reminded about these things. The second instance of avimrishta videyangshadosh occurs in the words Dvitiya Sri Lakshmi Riva. In this composition, the word Dvitiya, second, is videya, or unknown. Placing the unknown first to make the compound word Dvitiya Sri Lakshmi is another fault. Dvitiya Sri Lakshmi. So he's saying that the Ganges is the second Lakshmi, but it should have been anyway. It's reversed. Second is given first, and Lakshmi, and then Ganga. So it's not in the right order. The words Dvitriya Shri Lakshmi or Eva were intended to compare the Ganges to the goddess of fortune, but because of this fault, the meaning of the compound word was actually bewildering. The third fault is that viruddhamati, or contradictory conception, in the words Bhavani Bhartu. The word Bhavani refers to the wife of Bhava, Lord Shiva. But since Bhavani is already known as the wife of Lord Shiva, to add the word Bharta, husband, was forming a compound meaning, the husband of the wife of Lord Shiva. Is contradictory. For thus it appears as if the wife of Lord Shiva had another husband. Huh? So if I say the husband of the wife of another man, it sounds like there's two men involved here. The fourth fault is punarukti, or redundancy, which occurs when the word vibhavati flourishes, which should have ended the composition, is further qualified by the unnecessary adjective adbhuta guna, endowed with wonderful qualities. The fifth fault is bhagnakram, which means broken order. In the first, third, and fourth lines, there is anuprasha, or alliteration, created by the words ta, ra, and pa. But in the second line, there is no such anuprasha, and therefore the order is broken. So those alliterations should have been repeated in every line. Or should have, yeah. Or there should have been an alliteration in every line. Avimrishta videyangsha duitani chinna viruddhamati bhagnakram punarata doshatina. In this verse, the fault of avimrisha videyangsha occurs twice. And the faults of viruddhamati, bhagnakram, and punarata occur once each. This is Mahaprabhu now speaking again. Gangara mahat Shloke mula videya idam shabde anuvada pache avideya. The glorification of the Ganges, Mahatvam Gangaya, is the principal unknown subject matter in this verse. And the known subject matter is indicated by the word idam, which has been placed after the unknown. Go back to the verse. Mahatvam Gangaya Satatam idam. Idam should have been first. All right. And the known subject matter is indicated by the word idam, which has been placed after the known, the unknown. Videya age kahi pache kahi leanuvada, elagi shlokera arta kariache bada. Because you have placed the placed the known subject at the end, and that which is unknown in the beginning, the composition is faulty, and the meaning of the words has become doubtful. It's not clear anymore. Anuvadam anuktvaiva, navideyam adiraye, nahyalad alabdaspadam kinchit, kutrachit pratitastati. Without first mentioning what is known, one should not introduce the unknown, for that which has no solid basis can never be established anywhere. This is a verse from the Ekadashi Tattva. So, if you say the store was gone to by many people, that's not correct grammar. You have to state many people visited the store. What is known? So who is performing the action? That should be stated first, then the action, and then the predicate. This is a conversation. This is an analysis of a verse given by the Digvijay Pandit, of one of the many verses that he composed on the Ganga, and Mahaprabhu is analyzing the faults. And this was a very beautiful pastime because it made the Digvijay position so that he would hear from Goddess Saraswati about the glories of Mahaprabhu. So this whole analysis, which is in itself valuable, but in the context of Mahaprabhu's mercy, it is even more valuable. Dvitriya Sri Lakshmi Iha Dviti Yatva Videha Samaste Gona Haile Sabdartha Ge Lakshaya. In the word Dvitiya Sri Lakshmi, a second all opulent goddess of fortune, the quality of being a second Lakshmi is unknown. In making this compound word, the meaning became secondary and the originally intended meaning was lost. So Dvitiya Sri Lakshmi is given standing by itself, not saying who is the second Lakshmi. It's just standing by itself. So when something is standing by itself, it's the unknown. And that is not given before the known thing, which is the Ganga. So these are grammatical principles. And it's it's fun for me because I really do like, I like grammar. Dvitriya Shabda Videya Taha Padila Samase Lakshmi Rasamata Artha Karila Vinase. Because the word Dvitiya, second, is the unknown, like who is second? In its combination with this compound word, the intended meaning of the equality with Lakshmi is lost. The second Lakshmi, but who is the second Lakshmi? That should have been stated first, because Ganga is the subject. So the second Lakshmi is the description of Ganga. So Ganga is the known thing. The Ganges is what is being spoken about. And the unknown thing, which is being introduced, is that she is a second Lakshmi, or a second goddess of fortune. Avimrishta videyangsha edosheranama ara ekadosha acheshuna savadhana. Not only is there the fault of avim urishta videyangsha, but there's also another fault which I shall point out to you. Kindly hear me with great attention. Bhavani bhartrishabdadile paya shantosha viruddhamati kritnama e mahadosha. There's another great fault. You have arranged the words Bhavani Bhartri to your great satisfaction, but this betrays the fault of contradiction. Bhavani shabde kahe mahadevera grihini tara bharta kahile dvitiya bharta jani. The word Bhavani means the wife of Lord Shiva. But when we mention her husband, one might conclude that she has another husband. So somebody's wife's husband. So it's like, are you saying she has a different husband? So there's, Shiva Patnira Bharta Iha Shunite Viruddha Viruddhamati krit shabda shastre nahi shuddha. It is contradictory to hear that Lord Shiva's wife has another husband. The use of such words in literature creates the fault called viruddhamati krit. Brahmana patnira bharta rahasti dehadana shabda shunite hai dvitiya bharta jnana. If someone says, place this charity in the hand of the husband of the wife of the Brahmin. When we hear these contradictory words, we immediately understand that the Brahmin's wife has another husband. So, Bhavani means the wife of Lord Shiva. It always means the wife of Lord Shiva. That is her name. And to say that the husband of the wife of Lord Shiva means that she's got some other husband somewhere. Vibhavati kriyaya vakya sangapuna visheshana adbhuta guna e punar atta dushana. The statement by the word vibhavati, flourishes, is complete. Qualifying with the adjective adbhuta guna, wonderful qualities, it creates the fall of redundancy. So there's just saying the same kind of thing twice. Tina pade anuprasha deki anupama akapade nahiye dosha bhagna krama. There is an extraordinary alliteration in 3 lines of the verse, but in 1 line there is no alliteration. This is the fault of deviation. So in 1 line there is alliteration using 1 syllable va, and another line, I can't remember which ones they are. Let's see. Srila Prabhupada explains this here. So the alliteration means, oh yeah, ta, ra, and ba. So when, you know who's good at this are rappers. I noticed that there's a lot of alliteration in rap music. They're repeating the same sounds again and again and again in different places in the lines. How regulated that is, I don't know. I'm not paying so much attention to that, but I've noticed it, and it's quite good. And so here in the first line, there is an alliteration of many times, maybe the word ta is being, or the syllable ta is being repeated. Then in another line, ra and bha. But in 1 line, there's no alliteration. So this is inconsistent or deviation. Jajapi e shloke ache pancha alankar, e pancha doshe shloka kaila charakar. Although there are 5 literary ornaments decorating this verse, the entire verse has been spoiled by these 5 most faulty presentations. It's astonishing. It is really astonishing, because Digvijay Pandit, any ordinary person, would have just been blown away by his taking 1 hour to compose 100 verses glorifying Mother Ganga, and then just reciting them like as the Krishnadas Kaviraj like saying, like the wind. He just recited them all. But Mahaprabhu just pointed out any verse, like Digvijay saying, oh, you choose a verse. Okay, how about this verse? And then had it not only memorized, Mahaprabhu just chose any verse, and not only had it memorized, but completely analyzed for all of its ornaments and its faults. And this is blowing Digvijay Pandit away, because no one else can do this. I mean, it's not humanly possible. But this is a very great benediction given by Mahaprabhu to him, because he'd become completely bewildered by his power. Dasha alankari jadi akashloka dhai, ekadoshe shaba alankara hayakshai. If there are 10 literary ornaments in a verse, but even 1 faulty expression, the entire verse is nullified. Sundara Sharira Jaiche Bhushane Bhushita Akasveta Kushte Jaiche Karaye Vigita. One's beautiful body may be decorated with jewels, but one spot of white leprosy makes the entire body abominable. The great sage Bharat Muni, an authority on poetic metaphor, has given his opinion in this connection as follows. Or other examples we've been given is that if you have a beautiful white, pristine white cloth and one spot of ink is on there, it's not beautiful anymore. Rasalankavat kavyam doshayuk ched vibhushitam syadvapu sundaram api svitre naikena durbagam. As one's body, although well decorated with ornaments, is made unfortunate by even one spot of white leprosy. So an entire poem is made useless by a fault, despite alliteration, similes, and metaphors. Pancha alankarera ebeshu nahavichar dui shabda lankara tina arta alankar. Now hear the description of the 5 literary embellishments. There are 2 ornaments of sound and 3 ornaments of meaning. So one of the ornaments, so in poetry there are different ornaments. And one of them is the sound ornament or alliteration. And the other one is the similes and metaphors or the decorative meanings. Shabda lankara tina pade ache anuprasa Shri Lakshmi shabde punar uktavad abasa. There is a sound ornament of alliteration in 3 lines, and in the combinations of Shri and Lakshmi, there is the ornament of a tinge of redundancy. Pratama charane panchita karera panti Tritiya charane hai panchare pastiti. In the arrangement of the first line, the letter ta occurs 5 times. And the arrangement of the 3rd line repeats the letter ra 5 times. Now he's skipping the 2nd line because, as he pointed out, there is this inconsistency because the 2nd line does not have any alliteration. Chaturta charane chare ba kara prakasha ataeva shabdalankara anuprasa. In the 4th line, the letter ba occurs 4 times. This arrangement of alliteration is a pleasing ornamental use of sounds. Shri Shabde Lakshmi Shabde Akavashtuk Ukta Punarukta Praya Base Nahi Punarukta. Although the words Shri and Lakshmi convey the same meaning and are therefore almost redundant, they are nevertheless not redundant. So this is a very fine type of ornament. To repeat something is redundant. For example, the husband of the wife of Shiva, that is redundant. But to almost make it redundant is very lovely. It's an ornament. Shri Yukta Lakshmi Arte Artera Vibeda Punar Uktavad Abasa Shabdalankara Beda. Describing Lakshmi as possessed of Shri or opulence offers a difference in meaning with a tinge of repetition. This is the 2nd ornamental use of words. Lakshmi Riva Arta Lankara Upama Prakasha Ara Arta Lankara Ache Namavi Urodabasa. The use of the words Lakshmi Riva, or like Lakshmi, manifests the ornament of meaning called upama, or analogy. There's also the further ornament of meaning called virodabhas, or contradictory indication. So these are all ornaments. In one, and of course, I'm just repeating this, but in one instance, it is frankly wrong. The other one is, it is something like when you hear opposing musical notes that sound wrong, very bad sound, and almost opposing sounds very beautiful. It's something like that. Gangate Kamala Janme Subhada Subodha Kamale Gangara Janma Achanta Viroda. Everyone knows that lotus flowers grow in the water of the Ganges, but to say that the Ganges takes birth from a lotus flower seems extremely contradictory. Iha Vishnu Parapadme Gangara Utpati Viroda Lankara Iha Maha Chamatkriti. The existence of Mother Ganges begins from the lotus feet of the Lord. Although the statement that water comes from a lotus flower is a contradiction, but in connection with Lord Vishnu, it is a great wonder. So it is almost wrong, but it is completely right. So it is very beautifully expressed. It's a beautiful expression. Ishvara achincha shakti gangara prakasha ihate viroda nahi viroda abhasa. In this birth of the Ganges by the inconceivable potency of the Lord, there is no contradiction, although it appears contradictory. You can't say that a river comes from a lotus. That's silly. The lotus is growing in the water. But in this case, it is true because the feet of the Lord are a lotus, like lotuses. So it is a very, very pretty way of saying it. Srila Prabhupada is going to expand here on the inconceivable will of the Lord and how it has to be accepted, because the will of the Lord is everything. Whether we can make sense of it or we cannot make sense of it doesn't really matter. So he's saying, what sometimes appears contradictory from a material viewpoint is understandable in connection with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because he can perform contradictory activities by dint of his inconceivable potency. This is a very good thing for us to remember in our practicing life, because by dint of some kind of social or traditional or even scriptural or moral point of view, something may seem to be very wrong. But because it is the will of the Lord, it is deeply right, deeply right. And the devotees of the Lord are always seeking, mining the will of the Lord in all the circumstances of their life. They're not following these superficial things, which are the traditional way of looking at something, or some prejudice of some kind of community or even scripture. If it is the will of the Lord, it is deeply sweet and perfect. And what is not the will of the Lord? Nothing. So we must deeply find, although there seems to be some contradiction there, we must find the deeper, deepest supreme meaning behind everything, because it is there and it is sweet. Reality is sweet. So we are seeking reality beyond what our mind is telling us. Oh, that bad. On some level, something may be very bad. But deeper, deepest, the Lord's will is there. And what is my relationship with that bad thing? Some seva. There is some necessity for me to know about it or to be experience that. And how is that coming in the form of some necessity for my contribution? That is the practice of bhakti yoga. And to leave this practice out, everything will remain superficial. Guru Maharaj is telling us this. We have to mine the will of the Lord behind everything. Otherwise, we're just going to be doing things. Gurudev said, and I'm repeating this from yesterday, I know. But Gurudev said, they are doing seva. That is good. But what is the deeper practice? This must be understood also. And we'll go on doing things. Sacrifice is joy. We may not want to do some particular thing which is necessary, but that joyfulness will come from performing something, which is a sacrifice to us. But the deepest sacrifice is the sacrifice of our ego. And that is an internal process of burning up our ego in the beautiful blazing fire of the will of the Lord. Not for the faint-hearted. Okay, we'll just read for 5 more minutes. This is so nice, huh? Hearing these things. And again, Digvijay Pandit is sitting there listening to the Lord, and he's getting, it's a very shocking thing for him. And Mahaprabhu is pointing these things out very sweetly and with humility and telling him these things in order to show him himself, so that Digvijay Pandit can establish a relationship with the Lord. We can rattle off verses, we can have mystic powers, we can be extremely talented in any particular even service, but if we cannot bow down to the will of the Lord in our lives, we really have not yet started practicing properly what is bhakti yoga. Guru Maharaj said, that will awaken our actual Krishna consciousness, is Sharanagati, or surrender. Okay. This is now text 80. Iha Vishnu Parapadme Gangara Utpatti Viroda Lankara Iha Mahachamat Kriti. The existence of Mother Ganges begins from the lotus feet of the Lord, although the statement that water comes from the lotus is contradictory in connection with Lord Vishnu. It is a great wonder. Okay, so I'm just going to go to the next. Ambujam ambuni jatam kvachirapina jatam ambujarambu murabiti tadviparitam padambojam mahanadi jata. Everyone knows that the lotus flowers grow in the water, but water never grows from a lotus. All such contradictions, however, are wonderfully possible in Krishna. So all these contradictions become wondrous, right? The great river Ganges is grown from his lotus feet. Gangar Mahatva Sadhya Sadhana Tahara Vishnu Padotpatti Anumara Alankara. The great glory of Mother Ganges is that she has grown from the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu. Such a hypothesis is another ornament called Anumana. So now he's pointing out that this is the great glory of God. Not only that the water of the Ganges is coming from the lotus of the feet of the Lord, but that this is her great this is her great glory also. This is another thing. Stula e pancha dosha pancha alankara shukshma vichariye jadiache apara achaye apara. I have simply discussed the 5 gross faults and the 5 literary embellishments of this verse, but if we consider it in fine detail, we will find unlimited faults. Pratibha kavitva tomara devata prasade avichara kavye avasya pade dosha bade. You have achieved poetic imagination and ingenuity by the grace of your worshipable demigod, who is Saraswati. But poetry not well received is certainly subject to criticism. Vichari kavitva kaile haya sunirmala salankara haila arta kare jalamala. Poetic skill used with due consideration is very pure. And with metaphors and analogies, it is dazzling. In other words, Mahaprabhu is saying, you rattled these off, you're showing off. You're not really, you did not duly consider these things properly. Shunya prabhura vakya digvijay bishmita mukena nishare vakya pratibha stambita. After hearing the explanation of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the champion poet was struck with wonder. His cleverness stunned, he could not say anything. Bishmita, struck with wonder. Kahite chahaye kichuna aise dara tabi bicharaye manehaya pangpara. He wanted to say something, but no reply would come from his mouth. He then began to consider this puzzle within his mind. So I think this is a good place. Well, no. This is a place where we can stop, because now we are going to hear about the thoughts of Digvijay Pandit after having been so thoroughly, instructed by the Lord, and his approach to Mother Saraswati herself. He felt so humiliated, and even the students of Mahaprabhu who had been hearing from him on the banks of the Ganges, when the Digvijay Pandit arrived, they began to chuckle. They were laughing at the Pandit, but Mahaprabhu stopped them because that was disrespectful. No, he says, don't laugh like that. They're very excited because, they know Mahaprabhu is so great. And to hear him fully defeat this extremely famous personality, scholar, he just conquering. And he had come to Navadvip to conquer. And this one person he wanted to conquer was Nimai Pandit. So they were very excited, and they began to chuckle in their excitement. But Mahaprabhu was, don't do that. Jai Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Jai Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai. Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj ki jai. Srila Om Vishnupadesi Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. So I don't have my kartals. So excuse me, I'm going to get them. Haribol. Jai Mahaprabhu. Hari Raya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. Gopal Govinda Ram Shrimati Sita Giridhari Gopinath Madana Moha Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Bhakchandra Radha Srivasari Gaur Bhaktavinda Jai Rupa Sanatan Bhakta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Ravina Hey Jai Gosai Kodi Charana Banda Jai Te Vignanath Abhistapura Hey Jai Gosai Jai Maitanata Taradas Tansvara Parare Mora Panchagra Hey Jai Gosandra Charana Seve Bhakta Saneva Janame janame mohe abhilash Hey Jai Gosai Jabe Prachit Palabha Radha Krishna Nitya Leela Khorila Prakash Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan Shri Guru Vaishnava Parema Jayaman Shri Guru Vaishnava Parapadma Koriya Hari Nam Sankirtana Kohe Narotamada Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Oh Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Jai Sarikashi Guru Gaur Chandra Jai Giraj Guru Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Srila Bhakti Rakab Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupada Srila Bhakti Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Shri Rupa Nuga Guru Varga Ki Jai Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Madhacharya Vrinda Ki Jai Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Sadgoswami Prabhu Ki Jai Saparshad Sriman Mahaprabhu Ki Jai Saparshad Shri Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyamakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Ki Jai Tadiya Sakama Ki Jai Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Mission Ki Jai Kol Kartal Ki Jai Hari Nam Sankirtan Ki Jai Samaveda Vaishnava Mandala Ki Jai Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari Bol Dandavad to everyone. Thank you for joining us. Very happy. We don't see you exactly, but Shri Guru Maharaj Ki Jai.